Today, we're diving deep into the clandestine side of the Cold War, uncovering some of its most daring and bizarre operations. These are the stories you didn't read in your textbooks, the ones hidden in the shadows, where spies, scientists, and soldiers risked everything to gain the upper hand. Let's start with one of the most audacious intelligence operations of the Cold War, Operation Gold. In the mid-1950s, the CIA and British MI6 embarked on an extraordinary mission to tap into Soviet communication lines running beneath East Berlin. The plan? Dig a tunnel nearly half a mile long from West Berlin into East German territory, directly under Soviet military headquarters. For months, engineers worked in secrecy, constructing the tunnel and installing listening devices capable of intercepting thousands of phone calls and telegraph messages. But here's the twist. The Soviets knew about the operation all along. A double agent named George Blake had leaked details to Moscow before construction even began. However, instead of shutting it down, the Soviets allowed the operation to continue for over a year, feeding false information to the West while pretending they were unaware. When the tunnel was eventually exposed in 1956, it became a propaganda victory for the Soviets and a humbling defeat for Western intelligence agencies. While the superpowers waged war abroad, another kind of battle was being fought at home, in the human mind. Enter Project MK-Ultra, a top-secret CIA program launched in the 1950s to explore mind control techniques. Officially, MK-Ultra aimed to develop methods to counter Soviet brainwashing tactics. Unofficially, it spiraled into one of the darkest chapters of American history. Over 2 decades, the program conducted unethical experiments on unwitting civilians, prisoners, and even military personnel. Subjects were dosed with LSD, subjected to sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and electroshock therapy, all without their consent. One infamous case involved Dr. Frank Olson, a U.S. Army scientist who died under mysterious circumstances after being secretly given LSD during an MK-Ultra experiment. His death was initially ruled a suicide, but suspicions of foul play linger to this day. Though officially shut down in 1973, MK-Ultra remains a chilling reminder of how far governments will go in pursuit of power and the ethical boundaries they're willing to cross. Not all Cold War secrets unfolded behind enemy lines. Some played out right in plain sight, in quiet American suburbs. During the 1940s and 1950s, the Soviet Union planted sleeper agents across the United States. Ordinary-looking families living seemingly normal lives while secretly gathering intelligence. These operatives, part of what became known as Operation Sleeper, blended seamlessly into society. They held jobs, raised children, and attended PTA meetings, all while maintaining radio contact with Moscow and awaiting orders to activate. One notable example was the Rosenberg Network, which included Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, executed in 1953 for passing atomic bomb secrets to the Soviets. What makes these sleeper cells so fascinating is their ability to remain undetected for years, sometimes decades. Even today, declassified documents reveal new layers of intrigue surrounding these ghost-like figures who lived among us. In 1962, the Joint Chiefs of Staff proposed a plan so shocking that it stayed classified for nearly 40 years. Known as Operation Northwoods, it called for the U.S. government to stage terrorist attacks on its own soil, blaming them on Cuba, to justify an invasion of the island nation. The proposals included hijacking planes, sinking ships, and assassinating Cuban exiles in Florida, all designed to create public outrage and demand military action against Fidel Castro's regime. While President John F. Kennedy ultimately rejected the plan, its existence raises unsettling questions about the lengths to which leaders might consider going to manipulate public opinion and achieve political goals. One of the closest brushes with nuclear war occurred not during the Cuban Missile Crisis, but in 1995, long after the height of the Cold War. On January 25th, Russian early warning systems detected what appeared to be a ballistic missile launch heading toward Moscow. In reality, it was a scientific research rocket launched by Norway to study the aurora borealis. Unfortunately, no one had informed the Russians about the launch, leading to panic in the Kremlin. For several terrifying minutes, President Boris Yeltsin activated Russia's nuclear briefcase, preparing to retaliate. Only when the trajectory showed the object breaking apart did officials realize it wasn't a threat. This incident highlights the dangers of miscommunication and the hair-trigger nature of nuclear arsenals. It serves as a stark reminder of how easily misunderstandings can escalate into global catastrophe. The Cold War may have ended, but its legacy of secrecy endures. From underground tunnels to mind control experiments, from sleeper spies to false flag plots, these covert operations reveal a darker, more complex side of history. They remind us that the truth is often buried, and that the consequences of unchecked power can be devastating. Yet, they also teach us valuable lessons. Transparency, accountability, and open dialogue are essential safeguards against repeating the mistakes of the past. As we navigate an increasingly interconnected world, let us remember the importance of trust, not just between nations, but within our own societies. For every secret uncovered, there's a story waiting to be told, and a chance to learn from the shadows of history.